Hello, my name is Michael Lamar. I'm the new City Manager here in Prescott, and welcome to the Prescott Today show. On today's show, I hope we have an exciting agenda for you. We have an interview with our relatively new police chief, Debbie Black, a Coffee with a Cop segment, and the low point of the show probably is an interview with me. So let's start with the interview with Chief Black. Chief Black, welcome to Prescott Today.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here, ma'am. How long have you been on the job now?
So I started here in Prescott in July, mid-July.
Okay.
So it's been just about 5 months.
Very good. What brought you to this community?
My husband and I had been attracted to Prescott as a place that we wanted to ultimately retire. So we've actually had a home here for several years.
Okay.
When the position was posted last spring, I started doing some background about the city, about the police department, and what the needs were.
Mm-hmm.
And based upon that, I felt that I had something to offer the community, and from my experience as a police chief in the city of Glendale and serving in the profession for 36 years now, I really thought that it might be a good fit, and I was very, very pleased when I was selected for the position.
Now, is the nature of what you do on a day-to-day basis much different than what you were doing in the Valley?
You know, I think the difference primarily is in scope. I think the job is very similar, you know, so the things that occur on a regular basis, you know, managing the budget, personnel decisions, hiring, recruiting, all of those sorts of things are the same wherever you go.
Okay.
This being a smaller community and a smaller police department, and certainly a much safer community than where I came from. I think that it just isn't nearly as demanding as it was as the police chief in Glendale.
Gotcha. Can you talk a little bit about yourself and your background in law enforcement?
Sure.
How long you've been at this?
As I said, 36 years as in policing. So I started in 1980 as a police recruit with the Phoenix Police Department.
Okay.
And I served over 25 years there. Took a short sabbatical, stay-at-home mom for the first time in my life, and then was recruited to join the Glendale Police Department as an assistant police chief. And I would have been there for 10 years this December,
Okay.
had I stayed. But just a wonderful profession, a great career choice for me, obviously 36 years and many more to go. It's been a real blessing to be able to serve in this way.
So you an Arizona native?
I am not. I
Where are you
grew
from,
up in
man?
Illinois.
Illinois.
Outside of Chicago. Very,
Cubs fan?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, congratulations.
So yes, it's a
big
banner
year. Yes.
Never thought I'd see the day.
You and a lot of people, I don't think they've ever seen the day. I guess I should get back to this agenda. After 6 months on the job, what's your impression of Prescott, its strengths and its challenges?
So I've been just overwhelmed by how welcoming the community has been.
I've noticed that too.
And just, it feels like a small town. I grew up in a town of about 30,000. So it has that same kind of feel. Obviously in 2016, there's a lot of different threats and challenges that we have, particularly in community safety and law enforcement. But the community has just, I feel like people are here because they want to be here. They chose to live here. And for that reason, they're very invested in keeping Prescott as they want it to be. So free from crime, a safe community that they can, you know, feel comfortable walking, hiking, doing all of the things that the natural environment has to offer here. So I feel that is something that we can really maximize as in our role in public safety, so that we can continue to keep this the safest community we can. And because people care so much, and all you have to do is look at all of the different civic organizations and ways that people volunteer and
It's
really
amazing how
contribute.
involved
It
everybody is, isn't it?
Absolutely
Yeah.
amazing, and very different from where I came from, where it did did feel that there was this intensity and a lot of, focus on career and not so much that here people, just this month and the month of December, all of the activities that brought people to the downtown area. And you just don't see that
No, you really
in
don't.
a lot of different places.
Even places that are much bigger.
Exactly.
I know it's been a rough couple of years in law enforcement. Do you feel like Prescott is a pro-law enforcement community? Do you feel like the community's behind you guys?
Without question.
That's great.
And one of the things that I noticed even before I got here was how many people were interested in reaching out to me to make sure that I knew that this is a community that supports their police officers. And what that looks like is, they say thank you all the time. I get emails and letters and people just dropping by the station to say how grateful they are that we are there and what we do. And they do. I think the community does understand that we are stretched thin right now because of the demand for officers and the calls for service and being a little bit understaffed as we try and continue to recruit and retain our good people, that right now it's a little bit stretched thin, so they know that officers are working a lot of extra shifts, and they really do appreciate that even though they are feeling overworked in many cases, that they are just as professional, just as polite, and provide the same high level of service.
It says a lot about the quality of the law enforcement officers.
Absolutely.
And it's probably nice from a morale perspective to feel like you have that community support.
It does make a huge difference because around the country you can see where that doesn't occur, and it really is there's two sides to that. The officers have to show that respect and be professional and know their job and do it well. But when you have a community that is willing to provide information, to share insights about what's going on and where we might be able to strengthen what we do or focus our efforts, then that's what community policing really is.
I was going to ask you a little bit about that. That's a term you hear a lot, community policing. And what does it really mean to you?
It's really a partnership between the community and the police department, and making sure that we're doing everything we can to keep our community safe, and that's safe individuals and businesses safe from crime, but also from there's a perception of safety. So sometimes it's not actually because of an actual crime occurring, but because they feel unsafe, and we want to make sure that those community issues, those societal issues that sometimes make people feel uneasy, that we're addressing those as well. So it's really a partnership, and one of the things that we do, and I think later in the program our viewers are going to have a chance to see, one of our biggest outreach efforts that we've initiated this fall is Coffee with the Cop. And that's a monthly meeting, no agenda, simply to get information, to share information.
Human
to talk
interactions,
about,
having a dialogue with
exactly,
folks. Right.
and crime prevention information and just that dialogue and get to know each other, because I think the strength is in the relationship.
Sure, and it builds a level of trust, right, I would assume. And it's probably easier if you have an environment like that for the community to help you do your job, give you information about things going on in their neighborhoods.
Yeah, it really is, that we're all in this together. And that, I think in Prescott is particularly strong because people care so much about where they live.
Very cool. We can talk real briefly about crime. How do you feel the crime situation here is in Prescott?
I do have a comparison that is very, very dramatic, because
it's kind of an apples and oranges,
it
really.
Definitely is. But, in terms of violent crime, and most of the violent crime is driven, it's in a relationship. So a lot of it is, within a family or within people that know each other. Property crime is really the biggest issue in Prescott, but in most communities. And the largest category of crime is theft, and the largest category of theft is shoplifting. So that's more of a business-based. When you do have some of the big box stores that we have here in Prescott, they invest a lot in crime prevention or in loss prevention, and that's where we see they catch people
Right.
that are shoplifting or
Drives your numbers up that way.
Exactly. So I feel like it is a very safe community. Our violent crime, I believe, will be down a little bit in 2016 compared to 2015. So I'm looking forward to those numbers coming out later in January. The thing that we do have to pay close attention to is another part of our work, and that's traffic safety. Because much of our call volume is related to crashes, to collisions on the roadway, and that most of that is 100% preventable by people paying attention to the speed, watching the signal lights, not being distracted when they're driving. And right now we don't have as many traffic enforcement officers, but they still write a good number of citations every year. As we increase those numbers, we will be writing more citations unless we could get people to voluntarily comply and just be aware of what they're doing.
Change some behaviors.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, I think we're about out of time for the segment, and then we're going to come back and we're going to flip positions.
Yep, we're going to flip the script.
Yay. Okay. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Welcome back to the Prescott Today show. So for this segment, we're going to flip the script a little bit. I will be interviewing our new city manager, Michael Lamar. So welcome to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, and
Sure.
your background?
I've always been a city manager, so I'm kind of a local government dork. It's the only thing I've ever really done. I enjoy local government. I think it's, sometimes, and where I think we'll talk maybe if we get a minute about this, it's a level of government that often gets overlooked, but it really is the closest to the people. So I really enjoy that part of who I am professionally. Personally, I have a daughter, Edie. She's 11, and my wife, Deanna. And we've always been interested in moving west. I'm originally from Florida, and my last job was in Georgia. And I've been a city or county manager now for, going on since 1996. So 20 years.
Yeah.
Makes me very old. It's hard to imagine, but we've always wanted to move west. My wife's from New Mexico, and Prescott is such a neat town that when the opportunity came, decided to put my name in, and I was lucky enough to get it. And we've been here since early to mid-October. My daughter's at basic school, and she's getting adjusted. She's doing a lot of homework, but I'm remembering how to, multiply and divide fractions again. And my wife's very settled too, and we're excited to be here.
Good. So what have you found since you've been here these last few months about the community and, some of the opportunities you might see and some of the challenges you've recognized?
In terms of opportunities and strengths, you alluded to this in your segment. This is a really engaged community. A lot of people very interested in public service, interested in the things we're doing. And that brings a lot of opportunities to have an engagement with the public, and I'm excited about that. In terms of weaknesses or things that we need to work on, one of them I know that you're very familiar with is the public safety pension retirement system. It's, I think, got a lot of play here in Arizona about the cost for public safety retirement participants, and we're really trying to get our arms around that because the public safety retirement's funded at the general fund, and it's become such a large nut or nugget that it's sort of clouded a lot of the other things we do. And I think as an organization, we kind of need to get ourselves out ahead of that and explain to people that we're going to fix it as much as we humanly can. There's some things that, as you know, the state of Arizona has kind of handcuffed us a little bit, no pun intended. But in any case, we're going to work very hard on that.
Serious topic.
Yeah,
made
I'm
lighter.
sorry. I meant it.
That's okay. What does that do in terms of stability and creating opportunity in the future for the city?
I think once we got our arms around how we're going to fund this through a stable funding mechanism, the rest of our general fund's pretty good. And for those of you that might not be familiar with local government accounting, the general fund's your core services, your police, your fire, your Parks and Recreation, your library. And if any one of those slices of the pie becomes too big, then everybody else sort of has to feel the pinch. So we need to find the right funding mechanism for that and make it sustainable going forward.
And I know we're looking forward to that, certainly in public safety,
Yeah.
but I think, just getting this question answered is going to be really important for members of the community as well.
Oh, I think it's
as
really big.
City government.
And I think it's, one of the things I've noticed that I think is unfortunate is everybody has a theory about whether these pensions are deserved, is it too much money, is it not enough money. What they lose sight of is these are things that were promised, and
Right.
we need to fulfill the commitments we've made. And in no way should it taint anything that the folks in public safety are doing, because this is the deal that they got, and we need to acknowledge that.
And speaking for my department in particular, we really appreciate that that approach.
It's the right approach, in my opinion.
And it means everything. And I speak for the police department, but I think the fire department as well, that you were brought in part to help resolve this and help us create the stability that we need. Retaining employees is always a challenge. Attracting new employees with this question mark out there has been a challenge for Prescott. So we welcome
Thank you, ma'am.
your vision and your intellect around trying to put together the what is going to solve this issue. So since a lot of people don't really know a lot about their city government, and many people came from other places, can you just talk about the structure of
sure.
government in the city of Prescott?
Yeah, we have a strong council manager form of government where the best way to explain it is the elected city council kind of serves as the board of directors. And then they hire somebody that's sort of the CEO of the organization, which is the city manager. And this differs from some of the models you see on TV a lot, where you have a strong mayor and the mayor sort of runs the show, and you see that a lot in the Northeast and a lot of places in the Midwest. But a lot of folks out West saw the benefit of having a professional manager who has some background in public administration and the ability to kind of manage an organization and treat a government entity a lot like a business. So that's our structure. And I have a number of department heads, one of which is your position, the chief of police. And there's there's a number of them, fire chief, parks and rec director, library director. And they all sort of funnel down to the organizational chart and kind of report to me. I like the form of, I'm obviously biased, but I think it's a good form of government. I think it allows the city council or the elected body to serve as a policy formulation, and then the implementation is actually the burden of the city manager.
So one of the things that you spoke about before you took the job, and I think we've seen it as you've been in the job for a couple of months, is community outreach, and it's something that we share
Most definitely.
as a philosophy of how government works best. But can you talk about what you offer?
The first Wednesday and the third Wednesday of the month, from 4 to 6, I have open office hours at the library. And anybody in the city can come talk to me about any issue that they see going on in Prescott or anything else, really. I've had some interesting dialogues already with folks. I've had 3 of these sessions, and I had 11 folks show up to the first one and the second one and 6 to the last.
Okay.
And the questions are interesting, and a lot of times I get as much out of it as I'm giving to it, because there's things I don't know about in the organization, and it kind of gives me a chance to feel the pulse of the folks that are here. So I enjoy that. And I also want to be approachable even beyond those structured hours. I feel very much like if you see me at the grocery store or at the movie theater, feel free to come talk to me about anything you see going on in our community. I think that's part of the job. I think you manage best if you know what's going on.
So in the short time you've been here, is there anything that you would like to share with the people of Prescott in terms of what you would ask of them or what you would like to see going forward?
I think it would be great if, this is a wonderful community and it's beautiful, and I think a lot of folks really acknowledge and understand that. But sometimes it'd be good for folks to stop and think about that a little bit more, about how lucky we are to be here, and appreciate that to some extent. Sometimes I think we can wallow in the minutiae so much that we lose sight of what a wonderful place this is and how lucky we are to raise our families here.
Well said.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anything else?
I can't think of anything else.
Okay. Well, with that, we will move on to our next segment, which is about Coffee with a Cop. As I talked about in my segment, it's a community outreach opportunity, and that we offer once a month. This month it is at our police station, so enjoy. So we're here today at the Prescott Police Department, and this is Coffee with a Cop. So we had a great turnout. Coffee with a Cop, as you know, is the police department's community outreach that we just started doing a few months ago. Once a month at different locations at different times, we just are here to answer any questions. There's no agenda, there's no program. We just invite the community to come and sit down, have a cup of coffee. Today we're having cocoa and cookies because it's the holiday season. And we're just here to talk about crime prevention, talk about how to avoid being a victim, but also answer any questions they have. So today we have our Victims Assistance Unit here, our Traffic Enforcement Unit here, patrol officers, our Citizen on Patrol volunteers are here just to sit and meet and have a good discussion with members of our community. Coffee with a Cop actually started in California, and it's spread to actually an international program. Many agencies throughout the country are using Coffee with a Cop on a regular basis to connect with their community.
Prescott PD puts these on periodically, really just to make contacts in the community and have people, voice concerns or talking to us about different things. And it's one of those situations where it really, I think it helps citizens put faces, and personalize what we do. A lot of people just look at, it's the cops, versus this lets us actually have, one-on-one contacts, and we're not taking any enforcement action, so it's, really a positive interaction with most people.
My name is Max Merritt. I'm a retired police chief in Prescott.
Okay, and when were you the police chief?
I was police from 82 to 92, retiring in 92.
So for 10 years?
Yeah, so I hired on the department in 1964 as a patrolman.
And then when you became chief, you were instrumental in this new building.
Yes, we're crowded into what is City Hall now, that upper portion where the building permits and things are. We were really crowded. We had, when the building was built in about 64 or 5, there was a jail, so the jail went away and we moved into that, and we did a lot of things to stay there over the years. We rented space. Our detective division was a block away, and the property was in the north end of town by the tower up there. So we did a lot of things to stay there as long as we could, but we were just busting at the seams. So we were fortunate enough to pass a bond issue and to get this building built, and that was kind of my final thing I wanted done. And so I was able to do that, and I'm very proud of it.
Does community outreach actually impact crime?
I think it does. There's nothing magical about police work. When police, have the cooperation of a community, we very seldom go out and solve crimes on our own without that cooperation from the community or input from the community. So it's very, very important to have that bonding. And a lot of agencies in the larger cities today are really struggling because of that lack of cohesion there in the communities with the police. Community policing is more outreach into the community. Back in there was a time when we had a substation in a grocery store where people could go.
Really?
And the officers could go there and do paperwork instead of coming, to the office. And it gave a little more, they were out into the community more. So those types of programs are very effective, I think, in reaching and involving the community in policing.
Community policing is kind of a grassroots effort or a at-home effort is what it is where, hey, can we take proactive enforcement and do things that, hey, if citizens come to us with a concern, we can sit there and go, okay, well, this isn't something we're responding to, like dispatch isn't telling us something. It's something that's been brought to us, and we can sit there and work hand in hand with the community to take enforcement action versus, somebody calling saying this is happening right now. It's, for lack of a better term, kind of a foregone conclusion that there's a crime occurring. Community policing involves working with the community to make sure those things don't happen and that we can, kind of take care of problems before they arise, but working with the community to do that. Come to these events, if you have an issue or you have something that you're concerned about, come talk to us and come say, hey, these are the issues we're having or these are concerns we have. Is there something you can do? Whatever your concerns are addressed in the best manner possible. And that we're doing, as a police department, we're providing the best service we can. And the way to do that is to listen to our community and be able to say, okay, what's the feedback we're getting? Where do we need to focus on more? This lets us get that feedback and be able to talk to people and really, be a community, because that's what we are. Is we want to be hand in hand with people, not just law enforcement. We want to help build communities.
Again, it's a program that doesn't have any agenda. You just come together. There's no program. It's just answering questions and building relationship between police officers and the community we serve.